So we've just heard Philip Hammond deliver his budget speech. It was a pretty long speech, 71 minutes I think, and witty, which I think surprised many of us. We thought, in the press there was a lot of speculation this was going to be a tough budget, a tax-raising budget, something like 18 to 20 billion pounds, but it didn't feel like it. And it really was. I mean, his headline kind of grabber was talking about this is a budget for the British people, and I think he delivered on that. And the other sort of thing he talked about, he talked about the era of austerity is finally coming to an end. And we'll have to wait and see whether he's right there. There's some really positive messages for the economy. The OBR has actually upgraded the growth forecast for the current year and next year to 1.6% and 1.4%. So that's very good news. And that's with that backdrop, they're talking about creating 800,000 new jobs by 2023. That's got to be good news. Already in a period of low unemployment, with those additional jobs, that's really good news. And there's some big sort of headline stuff, a lot of it being leaked out before. Theresa May kind of stole the thunder a couple of months ago, announcing the £8 billion going into the NHS. But the Chancellor today announced a few changes also, additional £1 billion for the defence, £400,000 direct payment to schools, and that would work out about £10,000 for a primary school and £50,000 on average to a secondary school. So again, a very nice change there. And then something close to my heart as a cyclist, £420 million being targeted to local authorities to sort out the pothole crisis. Having suffered from the beast from the east and the really hot summer, our roads are in a bit of a mess, so that's a really positive move. So that's kind of the overall business and economy side. What about then for companies, for businesses out there? What did he announce? Well, the headline grabber for me was the annual investment allowance. This is the amount on which you can claim capital allowances on capital expenditure, trying to kind of kick-start those people making decisions to make some big expenditure plans, but increasing that from the current £200,000 limit to £1 million, and that's effective from next April, so that's really positive. And also a new relief completely, a new structures and buildings allowance, which is coming in again from next year. And we're not quite sure about the detail, but it sounds like this is for non-residential properties, so commercial properties, similar to the old industrial buildings allowances, I assume. Halving the apprenticeship levy to 5% for small businesses, again that'd be a welcome change. And responding to the crisis out there in our high streets, with retailers really having a tough time, looking to reduce business rates for those high street retailers by 1/3 in some cases. Again, the other thing he announced, which is again response to all the stuff in the press, is the plastics and the problem of pollutions from plastics, introducing a new plastics tax, and that's for importers and manufacturers of plastics where less than 30% of the product can be recycled. And also continuing their theme about tax avoidance, they're talking about raising another £2 billion in continuing to target tax avoidance for businesses and for individuals, but very much continuing the theme they've done for the last 8 years. So that's the kind of business side. What about for you as individuals? Well, again, the headline grabber for me was the increase for the personal income tax allowances and the basic rate allowance to the magical £12,500 allowance and the £50,000 basic rate band. This was something he kind of talked about in the manifesto and wanted to get there by April 2020. He's actually bringing forward that date to April 2019, so that's a really positive move and will take a lot of people outside of the higher rate tax band, which I think is the right thing to do. Now, the one that I was concerned about, particularly how he introduced it in his speech, was the entrepreneur's relief. This is the £10 million lifetime limit, and what he's done is actually leave this in place, but he's obviously had a good look at it, and what he's now going to do is just tighten up some of the qualifying rules. The qualifying ownership period is going to increase from 12 months to 2 years, and also say tighter rules around making sure you've got 5% of the dividends and the net assets. So yeah, not a complete surprise, but a slight concern when he first talked about it. The usual stuff around duties, he's frozen most of it. The fuel frozen for the 9th year in succession, beer, cider and spirits are frozen, wine just going up by inflation, and then tobacco inflation plus 2%. Announcing the introduction of the new young person's rail card for the 26 to 30-year-olds. A lot of young people continue to using trains, etc., and want to continue with that position. Now, the big surprise for me, nothing at all on pensions. In the weekend's press, there was a lot of speculation he was going to reduce the annual allowance you can put in from £40,000 to possibly £20,000 to restrict the higher rate relief, but nothing whatsoever other than the lifetime limit going up with inflation to £1,055,000. A few sort of tinkering around the edges on your private homes, so the principal private residence relief, reducing where you rent the property out, that we currently have a lettings relief and also have this last 18-month exemption, that's now being reduced to 9 months. So again, tinkering at the edges, but probably not that welcome change. And then finally, the stamp duty land tax, he's now exempting first-time buyers where they buy a shared ownership property up to £500,000. And he's actually backdating that to the last budget, because there will be people who have been caught in that £300,000 to £500,000 category. So all in all, I do think, in summary, it was a budget for the British people, well delivered, and he's worked very hard at trying to take the wind out of the opposition sails in much of what he's announced. If you've got any points coming out of that, you know how to contact me in the normal way. Thank you.